Well, good evening, WNBA and LA Sparks fans, and welcome in to the LA Sparks 365 Network, your 24/7 365 comprehensive home of the WNBA and your two-time WNBA champion Los Angeles Sparks here on WNBA 365 for Monday night, September 8th, 2014. Of course, via Apple's FaceTime alongside Chris Woodmansey at the Aaron Studios up in Anaheim, California. Cal McClure joining you folks here from Studio 171 in San Diego. Chris, good evening. How's it going tonight, man?
Just very finally excited because tomorrow I got orientation thing, and then after that I got the job, so just finally excited.
Now, folks, I'm sure you're probably wondering what happened to WNBA Radio tonight, folks. Unfortunately, tonight, folks, my entire soccer season work schedule, if you folks do not know that I also work for a local professional indoor soccer team here in San Diego, our schedule was released tonight, so I have to go over it with a few of my coworkers tonight about what we're going to be doing and stuff. So we had to take the night off from that. But we will have Episode 5 without any fail tomorrow back here on the network, and also, of course, will be on Blog Talk Radio. Chris, we're going to go away real quick from the WNBA Finals, Chris, to an important day important day for other players, Chris, where today tipped off the first day of Team USA training camp day 1 from Annapolis, Maryland, on the campus of the United States Naval Academy. Chris, looking at a few bullet points here from day 1, Chris, there's a lot of great star power, a lot of great photos and videos posted throughout the day from the practices today at the base today over in Annapolis. Chris, the first point here, or what you should say this here, that day 1 of training camp at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, was spent installing quick offensive sets as head coach Gino Auriemma pushed his players to get creative and use their own basketball IQs to expand on each possession. Here's a quick rundown of today's practice. The first point being the house of guards. Auriemma is going to have his hands full when it comes to selecting backcourt players for the upcoming FIBA World Championship. You have Indiana's Brianne January's tenacity on the defensive side of the ball, which stood out today. Not only was she a pest on the defensive end, but she also ran the offense with precision. Then there's Odyssey Sims, who can score, but also shot guard, knock down shots from all over the floor. Then, of course, there's the seasoned veterans of Lindsay Whalen and Sue Bird, who have a nice chemistry on the floor together. Both vets know the offense and played off of one another well. Chris, I know that we talked about this on the FIBA show last night, but I mean we're getting to it here on the WNBA show because today was, of course, day 1. Chris, it's going to be tough for Gino, Cheryl, and Dawn and the other coaches, Chris, to kind of narrow down the guard list, Chris, because, I mean, looking at across the top 4 here, Chris, between Brianne January, Chris, who had a great season for the Fever this year with her grit and determination in play this year, then Chris, Odyssey Sims, who was named to the all-rookie team this year for the WNBA, and then, of course, Chris, when you had the veteran leadership of Lindsay Whalen and Sue Bird, Chris, out of those, Chris, okay, those 4 may be locks, Chris, but in reality, Chris, when you have so much depth on this roster, Chris, and we know this roster very well from top to bottom is loaded with great talent, but Chris, when you have too much depth, though, at one position, will it be tough for Coach Auriemma and his staff to sort of, unfortunately, tell some of these ladies that they're not going to be needed this year for the FIBA tournament because of the too much depth this team may have for the 2014 tournament?
Yeah.
So, again, Brianne January, Odyssey Sims, Lindsay Whalen, and Sue Bird all today had great days. The next point here is from 0 to 60, which means the message was clear from the start. Team USA will play at a high pace in this tournament. Throughout drills, the coaching staff preached quickness. Well, Chris, we know very well about high-paced offense, Chris. We can look at the greatest era in NBA history, Chris, the Showtime Lakers, how they won those 5 titles, playing that upbeat, high-tempo offense. And, Chris, that's a deal, I think, that's sort of becoming a lost art in basketball across all platforms, from high school to the pros, Chris, is no one, Chris, at least in my case, doesn't play that upbeat, in-your-face, fast break, move the ball, high-paced offense anymore, Chris. How key, though, is this USA offense going to be, though, and what was cause problems for teams in the FIBA tournament coming up in a few weeks?
What?
The offensive play of Team USA. I need you on point here, dude. I know there's a lot going on, but we need you on track here right now. at this point, Chris, where the coaches are basically, Chris, repeating over and over again, quickness, be quick, stay quick, be quick, Chris. Is the offensive pace of Team USA going to dictate how well they play in this tournament, basically?
I think probably will, affect their play when it comes.
In case you folks are wondering, the play of the day was Shanae Agumake throwing a no-look pass in between her legs to a cutting Skylar Diggins to end practice, which of course earned applause from the entire team and members of the media. Other notes today: Stephanie Dolson looked extremely comfortable out on the floor with the team short on bigs. Dolson showed why Ariema called her up. Her outlet passes were impressed today, and of course Maya Moore's leadership is very apparent. Well, Chris, you kind of know that any player that has gone to UConn, Chris, sort of has a shot on the roster like Maya Moore and Stephanie Dolson. So nothing really big to chew on there. But again, today though, folks, was day one of the first opening days of Team USA training camp for the FIBA tournament. Chris, going to a quick press release and a blog here from WNBA.com. They spoke today, Chris, with Diana Taurasi on her preparation for Game 2. Diana's quote reads, "Preparation and more preparation. Watching film today watching film for about half an hour today to really see what we did, because those types of games are funny. You play them and you don't remember much because you're so in the moment. So when you go back and look at film, you know we didn't really play that great. We had a lot of miscues on both ends, and we know tomorrow they're going to be a lot better because that's just what type of players and coaches they have. So we're going to have to be better tomorrow." Chris, in spite of what the score may have read, Chris, it doesn't matter what the final score was, Chris. You can find flaws though Chris, you can find flaws basically in any type of situation, Chris, whether it's a blowout win like it was, Chris, in Game 1 or a close game, Chris. You will find flaws, Chris. And what is your thought about reading Diana Taurasi's quote here that, Chris, in spite of the final score, they have things to work on for Game 2 because they know very well that Chicago's going to come back and play harder than they did in Game 1.
Yeah, because Chicago is going to come out really hard in Game 2.
Chris, of course, Chris, the other big talking point here for Game 2, as we all know, is the health and status of Elena Delle Donne, Chris, who today, after sitting out the entire second half of Game 1, Elena Delle Donne expressed some optimism about her being back during Monday's practice. Also today, Sylvia Fowles was spotted on Instagram today, working down low in the paint to improve on her game, as was Brittany Griner working in on a move on a few of the coaching staff members of the Phoenix Mercury, and everything else included for Game 1. And Chris, Game 1, I mean, we know dictated the outcome, Chris, but now, man, we got to go to Game 2 now because it's on the docket, it's on the horizon, it's tomorrow night. Game can be seen at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 Eastern, ESPN, from the U.S. Airways Center. Now, Chris, again, we said it before last night, man, we'll say it again here, though, but this is the crucial game here. You know, this is your make-or-break game if you're the Chicago Sky, Chris. You have to win this game tomorrow night, or you are in deep, deep trouble, Chris. Now, we know about Elena Delle Donne's health being the big X factor, Chris, facing the true X factor of a WNBA down there in Phoenix. But, Chris, how much, though, how heavy, though, does Game 2 weigh, though, on the status of Elena Delle Donne, though, as we move closer to Game 2 tomorrow?
Very huge for the status of EED, because if she's not 100%, the Sky are probably in big trouble if she's not 100%.
Chris, I think, too, that the Sky need to start doubling up right off the bat on Brittany Griner, Chris, because Sylvia Fowles, Chris, even with her height, Chris, she can't do it all down low against BG, Chris. I mean, even with Big Sil on Griner, Chris, you're still giving up 3 inches of room here to get a chance to, give up a lot of easy points or whatnot. So, Chris, I think, Chris, if you have EDD back in the lineup, double team Griner. Put Fowles and put Delle Donne on Griner right away. Don't wait till you're down by 2, by 4, down 10, or sometimes, Chris, down 30. Put her on right as the game starts, Chris. So also, Chris, let's go inside the paint here, Chris. Because we know about this matchup, Chris. You have 6'8" Brittany Griner against 6'5" Sylvia Fowles. Chris, what can the Sky do to limit the damage done by Brittany Griner, or is there even a recipe for them to limit what Griner does in Game 2?
Probably put like 3 people on Griner, and they could make sure she doesn't get a lot of points, and in the paint, like have a triple teamer.
Double team, triple team, Chris, or we might as well put all 5. Put the entire starting 5 on Griner. You never know, folks. It might work for all I know. Maybe I'm just being crazy, but who knows? Again, folks, Game 2 of the WNBA Finals, the Sky at the Mercury, 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. Game can be seen on ESPN and also on the Watch ESPN app. Now, Chris, I know that we ranted and raved last night about Game 3. Now, Chris, again, we're not, calling the series over after Game 2, Chris. We're only going to Game 3, Chris. We're only going to Game 3 and Game 4, Chris, because, again, Chris, as we talked about last night, again, folks, the Chicago Sky have been kicked out of their home arena to accommodate a 5-day concert of a great act. Garth Brooks will be in concert at Allstate Arena, folks. So with that, again, as we talked about last night, again, the Chicago Sky will have to play Game 3 and perhaps Game 4 on the campus of the University of Illinois at Chicago at UIC Pavilion. Chris, I know we talked about it last night, man. I know we were very frustrated, Chris, but again, I don't quite agree, though, that you can, again, kick a professional team, Chris, whatever league it might be. You can kick them out of their own arena because of things coming in over the summer, Chris. I know it's the WNBA and everything else that everyone likes to say, Chris, but at the same time, though, Chris, we got to realize, man, that these teams need their home court advantage, man. I don't know what you're celebrating about over there. The Chargers lost 18-17, so stop doing what you're doing over there. But at the same time, Chris, again, we'll get your take one more time. But again, what is your thought right now about seeing the Chicago Sky again having to be ousted once more from their home arena because of different things going on?
Just terrible that Chicago Sky been tossed from their arena.
And Chris, settle down. It's not anyone new. Ebony Hoffman, Chris, has watched us plenty of times, so don't be going crazy over a player watching us, Chris. She's already watched us once, so calm your waters over there. But we do thank current member of the Connecticut Sun, Ebony Hoffman, for tuning in and watching us here on the LA Sparks 365 network, for taking time out of her night to do so at this point in time. Now, Chris, I know that this has been a talking point, Chris, but I'll just throw this out there, Chris. If, Chris, let's say motocross or monsters, or Chris, or the monster trucks, Chris, came to Angel Stadium right in your backyard at your favorite place in Anaheim, Chris. Let's say some other event came to the stadium, Chris, and overtook an Angels regular season game, or Chris, no, I'll back that up, Chris. Let's say Game 7 of the World Series, Chris, in Anaheim, got moved out of the stadium because of another event, Chris. How would you as a fan feel for that happening?
Wait, what?
Chris, we need you on track, man. You can put the Twitter thing away for right now because we can't be having you saying, wait, what, about everything every time soon. Chris, let's say this is Game 7 of the 2014 World Series, and the game is in Anaheim at Angel Stadium, Chris, but they had some event come in, though. Let's say you got, a big concert coming, or you got, okay, let's just say motocross is coming in, Chris, and they had to move Game 7 of the World Series out of Angel Stadium and had to play it somewhere else, Chris. How would you as a fan feel about that, and what is your thought about that, seeing that happen to any pro team across pro sports? How would that make you feel as a fan, basically?
It would be very heartbroken and terrible that having an event at that arena on my favorite team in Game 7 of the World Series, just very heartbroken and terrible and all this.
So again, folks, we'll ask you the question again on Twitter. You guys can hit us up on Twitter at LASparks365, at Calimac3, or at LASparksFan30. Let us know why, or we'll just ask you folks again, should a sporting event be moved out of the home team's arena or stadium due to other events that conflict with the schedule? Let us know on Twitter again with the hashtag HomeCourtAdvantage. Now, Chris, to a story from early this morning, Chris, about 2:20 this morning, where I was awake doing a few things for school, and a few things included, Chris, where for someone, Chris, who's not a night owl lately, Chris, that would be one Candace Parker, Chris, who was still up at 2:20 in the morning, which really still shocked me, Chris, who was up still at her home in Los Angeles with her former Tennessee teammate Vicky Bogg of the Tulsa Shock, Chris, in her pajamas, Chris, playing around the world last night at her court, Chris, before today, Chris, going in for her surgery on her knee today, Chris. So hopefully everything went well for Candace today. But Chris, for one, I was shocked for one that she would be up at 2:20 in the morning. But at the same time, I don't think it's very wise to be playing around on a bad knee when you're getting surgery. But then again, Chris, like I told Crystal Thomas, Chris, a while back, Candace is built like Kobe. She's built like LeBron. She'll go out and play next year, Chris, in a damn body cast if she had to, Chris. And also, Chris, any thoughts about Candace's surgery or anything you want to say to Candace about her surgery today that went down earlier today, perhaps, in Los Angeles?
October 27th. Get started now. Visit Ride.edu. Today's internet budget is a cherry catastrophe.
Okay, apparently Chris is speechless, and I don't think he wants to get a bigger deduction for talking to someone that's not his favorite player on the team. So we'll just sweep that on the rug. But also, he's being, again, folks, bombarded by security to go take care of something. So we will let him, as I'm looking at him, folks, on FaceTime, he's over there busting up laughing. But again, hopefully everything today went well with Candace Parker's knee surgery today for the occasion today in Los Angeles. Now, folks, real quickly here, not much else occurring here with the Sparks again, folks. You know about what's occurring with their coaching search and a few other things included. Now, folks, again, a reminder here again that season ticket renewal is wide open for you folks at LASparks.com. Ignite your inner spark and get yourself out to Staples Center in 2015. Again, you guys can renew your seats online at LASparks.com. Call 877-44 or call 877 or 844-GO-SPARKS, 844-GOSPARKS, or send them an email at 24/7 members at la-sparks.com. Sparks basketball, time to ignite. Also, folks, a reminder too that you can sign up for the Sparks official email newsletter on Sparks.com. Sign up for Beyond the Arc, the official newsletter of the LA Sparks, again, by signing up at LASparks.com for more information about that. Again, log on to LASparks.com. Now, folks, again, I know that we said we would have a BTR show again tonight, folks, but again, I had just tonight, I should say, folks, I got my work schedule for my indoor soccer commitment over the wintertime, so we had to put that aside, folks. But tomorrow, though, folks, we will have episode 5 of Wnba Radio on blogtalkradio.com. Now, folks, the numbers still stagger me, folks, about BTR, folks. And we've been on there 4 times. We've had, a great core of listeners, a great core of callers. We've had, a current WNBA writer call in. So everything, folks, has been pretty much smooth sailing right now on Blog Talk Radio. Now, again, folks, we are mainly, folks, using Twitter and the Sparks fan group on Facebook to get the word around, folks. Now, if you want to help out, folks, all you have to do is retweet the link to the live listening page on your Twitter feed and let your friends know that we're going to be broadcasting live on WNBA Radio. Folks, the numbers, in case you're wondering, have been very staggering, folks, over the past few days. And, Chris, as I bring you back on here, man, I was just telling folks about episode 5 tomorrow night, Chris, on Blog Talk Radio. But, Chris, you're in time, man, because the numbers for BTR, man, have skyrocketed over the past 4 shows. In case you folks are wondering, the all-time stats right now, we currently have 176 total listens. We've been listened to 73 times live on the air. 80 times we've been viewed on Blog Talk Radio. And in total, Chris, the numbers are going to blow your mind, man. We have been listened to 180 times over the 4 shows, 73 live listens, and we have been downloaded on iTunes 110 times already through 4 shows. Chris, I'll say it again, man, but is the word getting around finally about this network, man?
Yeah. just speechless.
In case anyone's wondering, the most listened show right now is our previous show with Sue Favor of Hoopism. It's been listened to, folks, already 69 times in 2 days. So, Chris, obviously, I was just telling the folks out there about that we pretty much break Twitter with the link to players, to writers, to fans of the league, Chris, to come listen to the show. And then we use the Sparks fan group on Facebook, Chris. And obviously, man, the word's getting around in some fashion, man, that Chris, for once, there is a place for WNBA fans to come talk about their beloved league and their beloved teams, basically.
Yeah.
So, Chris, real quick, I want to get your thoughts here, man. Okay, we've had 4 shows. They've all been great. What is your thoughts about hearing those numbers, Chris, and also your thoughts about how well we've done so far on BTR through 4 shows, going on 5 tomorrow night?
Think a very awesome so far 2 shows that we've gone through so far.
So again, folks, episode 5 tomorrow night, probably at about 10:30 tomorrow night, folks, because I do have some family in from Phoenix, Arizona, in for the week, so they'll be coming out for food and beverages tomorrow. So we'll be heading out to a place to hang out and watch. And Chris, for all I know, man, my family from Phoenix might want to be going out to watch the Mercury game at Applebee's or Chili's tomorrow night, man. So I got my X Factor family coming in from Phoenix, man. So hopefully we'll be going out somewhere tomorrow night. But again, folks, we will have episode 5 of WNBA Radio. And, of course, we'll be back here on the network tomorrow night. Back here maybe 10 or 10:30 tomorrow night for the show. Chris, as we get ready to head out of here for the night, your lasting thoughts and your preview of Game 2 of the 2014 WNBA Finals is what?
I think it's going to be a great game tomorrow night. Probably another blowout, maybe, by the Mercury. But we'll see tomorrow.
My lasting thoughts here, folks, about Game 2 is Della Don needs to be healthy. You got to do something on Griner, and you got to do something about Taurasi, but more so, it's don't get down early. Make sure Elena's healthy. Put some bodies on Griner. Shut down Taurasi, and you might have a chance. If you don't do any of that, your chances of losing the series in a sweep is pretty high. But, folks, until tomorrow night, time to be determined right now, folks. Until tomorrow, folks, have a safe night. Drive home safely. Thank you all for coming, and good night now. This has been the LA Sparks 365 Network. We are Sparks. We are LA. We are the WNBA. We will see you folks tomorrow night. Bye-bye.